This episode of Empty Betters is brought to you by DraftKings. This ain't the little itty bitty teeny tiny bowl. This is Super Bowl 59. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 245 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host for the 245th time, Mr. Nick Manella.
What a weekend, boys. I don't know why everyone traded everyone. It wasn't just hockey. We had basketball trades, we had soccer transfers. Everyone's on the move right now.
Yeah, we had the 1.0 trade deadline right before Four Nations is starting next week, but we'll talk about all that in a second. I'm now going to toss it across the screen to my other co-host up in Wisco, Mr. Mac Vogel.
What's going on? Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm all bundled up. My heat is like kind of working right now, but not so good. So I look like I live in Moscow, but I'm really cozy. So that's chill.
Amen to that. All right, we're not gonna mess around with any time here. We are going to dive straight into the trades. We had a good amount of trades actually happen over the weekend. Lots to talk about. So let's start off with the first one. We've got Philadelphia and Calgary starting the whole mess. Actually, I think JT might have been first. I can't remember. But anyways, I digress. Philly and Calgary. We got Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost heading to Calgary, and then heading back to Philly, we've got Andre Kuzmenko and Jacob Pelletier and picks. Thoughts on this one? I think this kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't really see this one coming. I feel like we were all kind of just sitting there waiting for the other shoe to drop out of Vancouver, because, as we mentioned on the last episode, we were a little sick of this. Farabee and Frost, I think, were two guys that just never really worked in Philly. And I know we shit on the Flyers and none of us really like the Flyers, but I think you could also say that about like five other guys that they drafted around them too. So I like this move. I like this move for every player involved. I think this is a good, change of pace for Frost and Farabee. And I'm a little bit surprised that Calgary sent Kuzmenko back in return. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I echo what you said. I think Farabee is kind of the main chip for me here. I think this guy still has a lot of potential. He's only 24 years old. We've seen him have some good years in Philly. He's a 20 goal scorer two separate times through his tenure in Philly. Best season was, I believe, last season, had 50 points, so 22 goals, 28 assists. But this year, just a huge, huge drop off. I know Philly fans have been kind of riding him a little bit, kind of on his case for, the old what gives. He's played 50 games this year, only has 8 tucks. So, it's one of those things. I think they just wanted to shake it up. It'll be interesting to see kind of who's the winner of this trade, but I know a lot of Philly players seem to take this one kind of hard. There was a lot of locker room posts and comments from guys being like, damn, this one hurts.
The Farabee one is definitely a little interesting just because exactly what Max said. Last season had a great year. He was on my fantasy team and he was really good for me. And then this year just hasn't clicked as well. Morgan Frost has been a highly debated player among Flyers Twitter, analytics Twitter. I know with Torts it really hasn't worked out as well as they might have hoped for the former first overall pick. I'd be very interested to see if he could do some damage in Calgary, but I think Nick, you just said it, the Kuzmenko thing going back. This guy's got he's got the stuff to really make it work. And you get Michkov, a little older Russian mentor, who's adapted to North America now for a few years. 39 goals as a rookie in Vancouver. I think people forget. Had 74 points in that campaign. He could definitely do some damage for Philly. They need some goal scorers.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that forgot about those 39, but that was an unbelievably impressive rookie campaign for Kuzmenko. And not to like discredit Jacob Peltier here at all. The guy is a first overall pick, and he's played about the same amount of games between the NHL and AHL level this year. He's still 23, clearly has some size going for him. So you know, see what he does in Philly, but I'd really like it if the Flyers decor kind of didn't get better. Maybe it's just me.
The most interesting part of this to me is Calgary right now is in a playoff spot, and most teams who are in a playoff spot that probably shouldn't be, if we're being honest about Calgary, making a move like this, ballsy. I like it. And as I'm looking at the standings even more, there's a lot of bubble teams that are dealing guys right now. So seeing a trend here, but um, gut reaction off the start. Who you think wins this trade?
As of right now, I feel like I'm gonna slightly lean Philly, but I think by the end of the season, I don't think it would be crazy if you would point to Calgary and saying they won this. I think it just depends on how those two guys land in Calgary.
I'll go Calgary. I really think Farabee, fuck, I think that guy could score 30 goals
Wow.
one of these years. So I really think Flyers were a little quick to jump the shark on him.
I'm also going to go Calgary, just because I do think Farabee has a good upside. I think Frost has an even greater upside. Some analytics darlings would say that Torts kind of tortured him over here in Philly, but I think in the immediate future, I think Kuzmenko is gonna make some noise here,
Yeah,
in the short term for the Flyers.
Ross might melt though in Calgary. He's a flame.
This is
true.
true.
It's
This
tough.
is true. We're going to move on to Dallas and San Jose. We've got Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci, former Penguins legends, going to Dallas, and then a 2025 first and a conditional third heading to San Jose. It was known that Granlund was going to get a little bit of a big fetch here. So, thoughts on this? I know it's only roster players going one way, but what do you think this does for Dallas?
I like this move for Dallas a lot. That's a deep team. We already know that. I think, the CC thing is a direct result of a certain injury we saw about a week ago. I think, when you go into the Stanley Cup playoffs, we see it time and time again. Guys just load up at or before the deadline for that extra defenseman because you're going to need them at some point. But in terms of Granlund, I mean, I had this vision in my head of him on a line with like Johnston or Stankoven, and they are just ripping the puck out of people's hands along the wall, throwing it out front to each other. Just they could make some sweet music in Dallas for sure.
Yeah, I love this move. I want to tip my cap to Granlund because I think this guy understood the assignment from the very beginning of this season that, hey, if I just put my head down and play as well as I can and just kind of help the guys around me, I'm getting a one-way ticket to a contender come February and March, and that's exactly what happened. He played really well for the Sharks. He did his job. He was an alternate captain there all year last year and most of this year. But I mean, 52 games with the Sharks, 15 goals, 30 assists, nearly a point per game for a bad NHL team. That'll earn you a one-way ticket to a contender, and that's exactly what he got.
He's on pace to match his career best from like 2017, I think.
It would look like you are correct. That year 2017, 16, 17 season, he had 69 points with the Wild. So yeah, he's on He's on pace. This is just crazy to me because, like, you know, in the 22 season, the Pens traded for this guy at the deadline, and I was like, ooh, okay. And probably couldn't have found a worse fit than what we got out of Mikhail Granlund that season. Call it Mike Sullivan, call it, soft play, whatever you want to use. It just didn't work, and I was like, wow, this guy is done. And then he gets 60 and 69 last year, and like Mac just said, 45 and 52 this year. Really turned it around with Sagan out for Dallas. This is a great middle six addition. I like this a lot for Dallas.
This
I
is
like it a lot.
smart GMing, if that's a word, but I like it a lot.
We just made it a word. And I think we're going to talk a little more about smart GMing in our next trade that we're going to talk about Vancouver and New York. JT Miller finally has been traded. Miller, Eric Brandstrom, and Jackson Dorrington are heading to the Big Apple. Then we've got Filipino, Victor Mancini, and a 2025 first heading to Vancouver. That 2025 first is top 13 protected. A lot going on here. First gut reaction thoughts to this trade.
I'm just happy it's over. Like, I'm just happy he got moved and we don't have to talk about it. Now I just want to know when the Rangers play the Canucks.
I'll look that up here real quick.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I would love to know that too. Yeah, I think this is about on pace with what we kind of figured would be the return for Vancouver. Like we discussed, they were kind of handcuffed in getting rid of Miller. Everyone knew that, so we knew they weren't going to get some absolutely astonishing return. That being said, I mean, I think Filipino is a decent piece to have come back your way. Guy's only 25. Um, Bigger-ish dude, over 6 foot. And I think, let's see, pull up his stats real quick. Um, Only a 20 goal scorer once, but I think there's I think there's room to change that personally.
So I love this for the Rangers, which is obviously not a good thing for everyone on this show. And as we've seen in the immediate impact, JT Miller is a fucking horse, and he's got 4 points in his first couple of games with the Rangers. Already scored a goal. I cashed in on that one. You had to take it first game. And he's living with Vinny Trocheck, which I know he's very happy about, childhood friend. And now you've got a lethal center punch down the middle for the Rangers. Tough one for them over the weekend against, I think they got trounced by Boston, but then turn around and beat Vegas at home. I think the Rangers are a playoff team personally. I think JT Miller puts them in a not even sneaky, probably a threatening wild card position. I think whoever's going to have to play them is definitely not going to feel like they're playing the wild card one or two. They're going to be like, oh, pooping their pants, like, oh shit, we got
Yeah.
to take the Rangers on. So, yeah, he's a horse. There's no way around it.
No, I think we could very easily see an East Coast version of what we got last year with Vegas and Dallas meeting in the first round. And it's like, Jesus, this could be a conference final. This could
That's
be
a
a
great
Stanley Cup final. Like,
great comparison, yeah.
and on that note, we know who the two teams leading the arms race in the East are. It's the Rangers, it's the Hurricanes. This, I think, has to be looked at as an attempt to sort of level off what the Hurricanes are doing. So, you know, do you guys think this move puts them significantly closer to that, or do you think the Hurricanes are by far and away the most loaded team on paper right now?
Um, Great question. That's a really good question.
I think on paper, it's got to be the Canes after the Rantanen move.
Yeah.
I think the Canes on paper might be slightly better, but I'm gonna sound like Mac here. I go back to goaltending.
Yep.
Right.
They haven't
Yes,
addressed
sir.
that, and
And
playoff
they said they
Igor.
don't plan to, which is hilarious.
Yeah, playoff Igor is a different animal. If the Canes and the Rangers played right now in a 7 game series, we got the Miller and the Rantanen trades in. I'm not betting against the
I
Rangers.
went
Yep,
back and
I
forth on
agree.
this one
I
all
agree.
day. It's really hard for me to call, but Yeah, I have no idea. It's like, I kind of trust that goaltending a lot more than I trust the Hurricanes goaltending.
Yep.
Going the other way, I mean, Filippino's a pretty decent piece, like Mac mentioned. I think there's
Yeah.
Yeah.
good potential for upside there. Mancini, I talked to our Rangers correspondent, Mark Cordoraro, solid defenseman. Plays a good, reliable game. And then you get that first round pick potentially, depending on the protection. But yeah, I hate that the Rangers got him. We all knew it was going to happen, but that is exactly what that team needed.
Yeah. I thought Patrick Alvin, the Canucks GM, I thought his comments were very interesting. I won't read them verbatim, but basically to summarize, he said, "Look, JT's a really competitive guy. He walks that fine line between taking it too far at times. We're not running a country club. This is a professional sports team. You need a competitive environment. It's just part of it." So I think that's, a very, PR answer, but I do think it's interesting that he puts in, hey, he walks that fine line and, you kind of got to live on the edge of that sword if you're going to do that. I think that just says everything you need to know about the situation right there.
Well, and a lot of Canucks Twitter is like, damn, did we pick the wrong side of which one to divorce here? Because Elias Pettersson, like this 26-year-old Swede and the mean older American kind of got under his feelings and now they're, having to stick with that contract potentially, and he hasn't really done much since the move. And then you see JT going over to New York and he's just fired up.
It's
Fired
Yeah.
up.
just, I mean, it's just that Miller is 31 and that they just signed Pedersen to that massive deal. Those are the only factors as to why they made the decision they did, which
Yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them, but maybe don't. I don't know. You got to go back in time to change that decision. So,
Yeah, it really seems like it does not seem like there was like a good fix at all. So I guess, we talked about it. They were kind of over a barrel. They did what they had to do with what the situation threw at them. But it's going to be one of those things where like anytime one of those players is mentioned now, the other one's going to be mentioned too. Like how many times are we going to like get ready for like one of those games on T like TNT in the next 3 or 4 years, and like their stats are going to be like next to each other since the trade. It's just going to be one of those things.
By the way, the Rangers and Canucks meet one more time this year at MSG on March 22nd.
Oh boy.
It is a 1 p.m. game.
oh Lord.
So it's
I
probably
was
a
kind of
week.
hoping it was going to be at Vancouver, but that'll
Same.
work. That'll work.
I agree. Before I ask you guys what your take is on the new look Vancouver Canucks, we've got one more trade because Jim Rutherford wasn't done there. We got a Pittsburgh and Vancouver trade. Drew O'Connor and Marcus Pettersson are sent to Vancouver, and then Danton Heinen, Vinny Desharnais, a conditional first, and Melvin Fernstrom are sent back to Pittsburgh. I've obviously got some thoughts on this, but I'll let you guys start off.
You guys had Heinen at some point already, didn't you?
Yeah, they
Yep.
did.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think, I mean, you've been kind of talking about wanting to get rid of Marcus Pedersen for a little while, haven't you?
Not necessarily wanting because I think he's bad, but I knew that
Yeah,
he would get a decent return.
sure.
Yeah, he was your best. Hey, we can move this guy, and it's not going to be a life or death thing for our franchise right now. And I like that move for the Canucks a lot. I think that just gives them a little bit of, ease and stability on the back end, which, I know is something that decor has been looking for a little while.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about it, but I think it's a perfectly respectable trade for both sides.
I know Rutherford and Tocchet both very familiar with these two guys, so not really surprised. I believe Rutherford was the one who traded for Pedersen when we traded Sprong to Anaheim to get Pedersen, so he gets his piece back. But I read today that Sidney Crosby actually texted Rick Tocchet saying, you got two good guys coming over to your squad, so that's cool to see.
Nice.
But
I thought Rutherford was just trying to get as many Swedes as possible to really piss off JT Miller after the move.
they've got three Pedersens now.
They do.
The amount of Patterson memes was fantastic to see online. Um, Need to ask you guys this. What NHL franchise now has the most uh, top three rounds 1 through 3 picks in the next 3 years?
I already saw this graphic.
The Penguins are the top team. I'm
Yep.
like, let's
Yep.
go, Dubas. All right, we got some draft
You
capital.
needed that because you guys
Yeah.
were
Yes.
seriously lacking in some depth there down the charts.
I like what I'm seeing. I have faith. There's a light at the end of this tunnel. People won't want you to hear that if you're a Pens fan because you've had too much joy in your life already, but there's a light at the end of this tunnel. I promise. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I was happy with this.
Are you gonna
Um,
keep these ones or just trade them all away?
so it's it's funny because like I am reading that he is in Dubas is preferring to um potentially move picks to get already established like young prospects
Right.
as opposed to drafting
It's
himself.
almost like that's exactly what the Capitals just did, and he was like, "Wait, that's a really good idea. I should do it too."
I think there's a blueprint there.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I wouldn't mind drafting a couple guys, but
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're saying though. Like I think, sort of, I mean, great example is Dallas. Like Stankoven and Wyatt Johnson are full-blown roster players now, and they're still on entry levels, or I think one of them is still. But
yeah.
you get them for, 900K instead of 7.5. That's a good investment.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys around the league. You look at like Zach Benson on Buffalo. I could see that
Yeah,
being moved. You look at Brant Clark in LA, healthy bombed the other night. He could be a move. Like
yeah, he's nasty, dude.
he is very nasty.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled if that happened, but we'll see. I'm happy with Dubas so far, despite what a lot of the Twitter GMs might say. We have a couple suspensions pending here. Pretty rough weekend for some interesting hits. First one, Ryan Hartman roughing Tim Stutzla. You guys have any thoughts on this one?
Two quick things. One is that yeah, it's a odd play, but I think it was a bad one, and I do think Hartman deserves probably like a one game sussy for it or something like that. For once, Stutzla did not dive. He actually had blood leaking out of the side of his head. So, you know, guess boy cried wolf. Caught up with him a little bit there. But last thing I'll add, this was trending on Twitter today. Some Instagram account, which I'm forgetting which one, ran a poll on the Hartman play that was like, should he get suspended or not? And somebody like screenshotted it and tweeted it because it said like Ryan Hartman and 1,000 other people voted in this poll. So allegedly, Ryan Hartman, just from his normal Instagram account, found this and voted probably no on his own suspension.
I wish DOPS like operated that way. They just like put up an Instagram poll and it's like, okay, how many games is he getting, chat? Let's
Yeah.
go.
It would
Like,
be incredible.
Tom Wilson would have been kicked out of the league 3 years
right.
ago if that's how
Yeah.
that operated.
That would be a hell of a PR stunt. I don't have too much to say on this one, Nick. Do you? I got
I
more
think
thoughts on the
Mac,
Nason one.
yeah, I think Mac nailed it. Stutzla definitely has a reputation of diving and having some theatrical antics going on. But in this case, I mean, we saw his face, you saw how the play kind of developed with Hartman kind of like driving him down, landing on top of
Yeah,
him. I think
he
this
got
is
cut.
this is just one game, no more, no less.
I have some thoughts on the Nason hit on Tage Thompson, which I
Yeah.
watched this
Yeah.
one live. I watched that whole game on Sunday. Pretty rough one. Pretty dirty in my opinion. The thing that's insane to me is that if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you're in last place in the Eastern Conference. You have a home game against, let's say, a contender. I'd consider Jersey a contender. You're beating them at the time of this hit. It's a home game on a Sunday, and your star player gets rocked
His
in the
bucket
head.
flies off.
His
Yeah.
bucket flies off. Like, he's
Your
on the
star
ground.
player who's 6'7".
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody did shit. Is that what you're about to say?
yeah, he's on the ground. He's got no helmet on. He's
Yeah.
shaking up, and nobody's going
Nobody
to
did
Nason.
shit.
It's just
One guy like went
yeah.
over to Siegenthaler and was like, "Oh, what the hell, man?" And he was like, "Yeah, I don't
And
know."
that was it.
That
I was
tells
like,
you
what the fuck?
everything you need to know about that team right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like,
Yeah. That's sad.
you see Will Cooley the other night,
Yeah, clean hit
clean
and
hit,
and
blast the
still
guy.
has to answer for it. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. But that's the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the energy or the character of that team versus Buffalo. There's nothing going on. Like,
Yeah, like if you're Owen Power, like you're 6'5", dude. Like Just
Yeah.
just grab him. Like you don't have to
Yeah,
drop him, but like just
yeah,
grab him.
right. Can you at least for the optics make this look like you give a shit?
Yeah.
Like,
He's
I
softer than my
agree.
grandma's
I
cookies, though.
completely agree with you, Harry. It was embarrassing that Noe did anything.
I don't
I could see
understand
him
it.
getting 2 or 3 for this one too. I actually thought because also what's crazy about this play is he plays the puck. That Nason who delivers the hit
Hmm.
plays the puck and then makes the hit.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I get it's a fast play and it's at his feet. I'm not saying it's even like interference necessarily, but to have the wherewithal to like see the puck and like get it into the corner or whatever, and then also be like, oh, but also I'm gonna like stick my shoulder out and like chicken wing you real quick.
Yes. Yeah, it was cheap, and that stuff happens, but when it's your star player and you're that bad of a team, you gotta show some piss and vinegar here. I mean, come on.
No, it's what we were saying about McDavid a couple weeks ago with the whole Garland thing and his suspension. It's like, where is someone else to be doing this for you? Why do you have to do this? Or in this case, like, where the fuck is everyone else? Like,
Right. Right. By the way, that Will Cooley hit, that was fucking awesome. Just blasted Petrangelo and then gets in a fight immediately after. Like that was cool. I enjoyed that a lot. Quality hockey. All right, we're gonna move on to a milestone here real quick, and then we'll get to the weekly recap. Jonathan Quick became the 15th goalie in NHL history to record 400 wins. He is the first U.S. born goaltender to reach 400 wins, so shout out to him. Also, want to give a shout out to Marc-Andre Fleury for posting a shutout in his
yes,
hometown of Montreal, his last game there.
that was
Very cool.
awesome.
Very cool to see.
Pretty cool storybook stuff. All right, we're going to talk some Washington Capitals here. I will toss it off to you guys.
Oh yeah. So interesting week. Back to back 5-4 overtime losses, one in Ottawa and then another one home against the Jets. Good news from those games is that Ovi scored in both of them. So he is now what, 18 goals away from breaking the record back, I believe.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, just a couple of things I want to touch on about Ottawa. Special teams, probably the worst I've seen them since Todd Reirden was the coach in DC. I understand everyone has off nights, but when you give up two shorthanded goals on the same power play, yeah, I'm going to be a little cranky about it. But
Yep. I also
um,
just genuinely don't understand what's wrong with these like too many men on the ice penalties. Like
correct.
how the fuck have we not figured that out yet?
Yeah. So that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I will say I do love the chippiness down the stretch in that third period to claw back from multiple goal deficits, stay in the game, force it to overtime. That Senators team, we were talking about this before the show, Mac. They are dangerous in overtime. They're fast, they're skilled, they can move the puck, they can shoot the puck. And then the big one Saturday night against the Jets. And I mean, you want to talk about a fast and big team. The Winnipeg Jets power play is fascinating. They don't necessarily like set up and do this zone time thing that the Capitals, have made famous for the past 25 years. They just bum rush you. And they just score all these goals on the rush. And it's so infuriating because they're so fast and there's always one of them going into the net. And I genuinely think so many teams are going to have a hard time stopping that in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. It's a really unique look for power play. They always seem to find a way to bait one of your guys out somewhere else and get a different look, get a different odd man rush going in a different direction. Um, we'll take the 2 points in those games at the end of the long road trip, right? Reset and focus on this next week. Also that OV goal in the Winnipeg game, chef's kiss, vintage shit.
Yeah, he hasn't missed a step.
Did we witness the Stanley Cup final preview on Saturday? Two
Oh
best teams in the
Lord.
league
Oh my God.
by far and away. That would be a hell of a series.
That would be
The
a
hockey
doozy.
gods have something far more fucked up in mind, I fear. But
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, no, great game. You get clawing back in that character. That shows a lot of
yeah.
character in that
Yeah.
group.
Mhm. No,
Especially you go.
I was just gonna say I think that and the other thing that we've seen all year long with the Caps, we continue to let in the first goal of the game and win games. Trail by 2 goals once, maybe multiple times, and win games. Like it's the kind of thing where you're watching a game and we're losing 2-0 or we're losing 3-1 or whatever it is, and they'll put up the stat at the top that's like Washington's record when like being down 3-1 in the second period. And it'll be something stupid like 12-2-1 or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the fuck? Like, all right, I guess I'm not worried. And like,
Sure.
sure enough, they'll find a way to get a win. So that's something I'm very unaccustomed to as a Caps fan. It's usually the opposite. So that's something I'm hoping they can carry into the playoffs.
Yeah, they definitely has some tests upcoming. Florida and Philly this week before you guys will hear from us next. And I mean, Florida is Florida and Caps Flyers, you just never know what's going to happen. It's either going to be 1-0 with like 9 different fights, or it's going to be 7-4 with like 12 different fights. So
Or an empty net goal that sends a team to the playoffs or some
that
shit.
In
too,
regulation or in overtime.
or
Yes.
pissing off Philly fans so bad during the 2015 postseason that they launched translucent bracelets onto the ice.
Yeah, it's always fun when those two teams match up. Maybe we'll get a little preview out on Twitter or something for that. We're going to move on to the gambling and fantasy portion of the episode, which is presented to you by Prop Tracker, your one-stop shop for all outlier bets. They just did an update to the app, and let me tell you, folks, it looks gorgeous. It's convenient. It's easy. I was at breakfast with a buddy the other day showing him the app, and then he ended up hitting a two-leg goal scorer parlay using some of the data that the app gives him. It will send you the notifications to your home screen when your bets hit. And I promise you, for the Super Bowl, you'll want to download this to get all the weird prop data that you need to make the best bets possible. So go use the link in our bios to go download the Prop Tracker app. Couple or actually, Nick, I'll let you do the hot and cold, and then I'll read some player props I got.
Well, real quick, just on the topic of prop tracker, what color's the Gatorade going to be this year, boys?
Ooh,
Ooh,
What are we thinking?
orange.
red,
I could see them throw a little like the lemon lime green one in there.
green,
Yeah,
Okay.
the battery acid green one or something.
right.
Yeah,
Going orange.
I'm
I
going
like it.
red.
Let's talk about some teams that are red hot. The Winnipeg Jets and the Red Wings have each won 6 in a row, so they're cruising. The Stars have won 5 in a row, so it looks like Granlund came over at the right time. Some teams that are not, a little bit of the colder side of the pillow here. The Habs have lost 5 in a row. That's not great. Utah has also lost 5 in a row. I feel like with those two, it's just, you're living week to week. One week you're winning 5 in a row, the next you're losing 5 in a row. And then Vegas, these guys were red hot, I would say, about 2 to 3 weeks ago, but they are just 2-5-3 in their last 10. Guys, out of all the teams I read on the cold side, who should be most concerned?
I'd say, I mean, probably Vegas in terms of a team that, actually has playoff aspirations and has had playoff aspirations all year. Whether that streak is going to make them miss or not, I don't know about that, but definitely for, jockeying for position at some point down the stretch, they're going to want to clean that up. I do feel a little bad for Montreal though. I think a lot of their fans were starting to believe a little bit. They had been the hottest team in hockey for a week or two there, and seeing that 5-game skid happen, I think they kind of fell down to earth a little bit. So I'd go with one of those two. I think Utah has been mid all year, and a 5-game skid is a 5-game skid that just a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I probably go Montreal. I feel like with Vegas, we all know what they're going to end up doing, but Montreal, like Max said, they had a little belief. They're trying to take that next step this year, and 5 in a row right now as they're hunting for a playoff spot. You can't really be having that.
Yeah, they're only 4 points out too, so it's not like it's totally going to
Yeah,
shit. It's still doable, but if you're going to try and leapfrog Tampa and Boston and the Red Wings, you can't be dropping, 5 in a row.
for sure. In terms of player props, a couple guys, maybe some goal scorer names that you wouldn't always think of. Take a look at Mason McTavish. He has been red hot for the Anaheim Ducks, who have been sneaky hanging around in that West wild card hunt. Not saying they're a playoff team, but they've been better than I think people expected. And then Sidney Crosby, that may be a name that you do associate, but 4-game goal streak right now. So he's always got some good value, given that he's not like a Matthews or a Kyle Connor per se. And then just some info for anyone who's still betting the over in this bloodbath of an NHL season in terms of goals. We are now officially in 5.5 territory for like every team every night, which is pretty crazy considering we were at like 7.5 2 seasons ago. Um, Best team to bet the over when talking about 5.5. Columbus number one, uh, Buffalo number two, Pittsburgh number three, Colorado number four, and Florida number five. That comes to us from Prop Tracker. It'll tell you how many times the team has gone over 5.5 this season. But Columbus and Buffalo definitely tied for first at the top, and everybody else is, well, kind of a close second. So do with that info what you will. I know Nick will wrap up this episode with a little bit of college hockey talk.
Yeah, my NCAA team of the weekend is going to be Colorado College. They got a split with the number three Western Michigan Broncos over the weekend, winning 3-2 on Saturday. And then, if you guys forgot, the Bean Pot is going on right now. We have a 6-1 beatdown. BU is just cruising over Harvard right now in the first game. And then there's going to be a big one at 8 p.m. tonight, BC against Northeastern. So stay tuned in that. The consolation game and the championship game are a week from today. So day after the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Awesome, awesome.
Mac, do you have any trivia for us?
I do. I have a really good question that I'm hoping can be quick. I could have made this longer, but I'll give you guys the hint right along with the read since we're running a little long here. All right, here we go. The Sabres snapped their 14-game losing streak on February 3rd, 2015, with a 3-2 win at Montreal. This was the fourth longest losing streak in NHL history at the time, one behind the Philadelphia Quakers, who lost 15 games in a row during the 1930-31 season. I need you guys to tell me which three Buffalo Sabres scored all three of the goals in the first period of that game, and which Buffalo goaltender made 32 saves to hang on for the victory. So, three separate Sabres 2015 goal scorers and their goalie.
All right. Give me Zegmus Germa. What's his name? Can't think of his name.
Zemgus
Gergamanis?
Jurgensons? No,
Yes. Damn it.
incorrect.
Uh, let's let's start with the goalie. Would that be Ryan Miller?
It would not.
Ooh,
Couldn't be that easy for you.
throwing me a little curveball, Mr. Mack. I like it.
Let's say the goaltender is Craig Anderson.
Nope.
We're in for one, Nick.
Dustin Tokarski.
Nope. Not the
Okay.
cockroach.
Robin Lehner.
Nope.
Good guess. Let's go back to players for a
Yeah,
second.
Sure.
Could I get a Jason Pominville?
You may not.
Oh, come on.
What about Ryan O'Reilly? Maybe?
Nope.
Ugh.
These are all three household Sabres names of this era for sure. Uh, and one of them just a total household name in the league in general.
Could I get a young Jack Eichel?
Nope.
Okay. Or is that draft year?
I can't remember.
Household Sabres names like Drury was like this. I'm thinking too old. Like I gotta
Right.
maybe dial it forward a little bit. Was Brian Campbell still on the team?
Not sure, but
Subi.
he's not one of these.
Could I get a Derek Roy?
Nope, you can't.
Come on.
Fuck, I thought this was gonna be a quicker one. Thought you guys knew Puck.
Buffalo, 2015. Um, um,
Not a lot going
um,
on there.
yeah.
I love all these guys.
Ooh,
Wow.
What? Go. Anything.
Nathan Gerby.
Nope.
Come on, dude. Are we just really dropping the ball on this?
I mean,
No,
I'm actually kind of surprised. I think of one of these guys. I think of. I mean, it'd be impossible to not think of the Sabres with this guy. The
Okay.
other guy, you're probably thinking of a different team. Maybe forget he was here. He's
Fair.
more of like a Devils guy.
Okay.
Um, and the other one, I think of the Islanders personally, but
Okay. See, I feel like
Kyle
2015.
Okposo.
nope. But that's a good
Fuck
guess.
Good
me.
guess. I feel like 2015 is the thing that's throwing me because I'm either thinking like Buffa Slug, a
Yep.
Finnegan off
Yep.
Goathead,
Right.
like
Yep.
Pat
It's kind of
LaFontaine,
in the
Rob
middle a little
Ray,
bit. Yeah.
or I'm thinking like Dylan Cousins now.
All right, let's focus on the guy who was kind of a lifer in Buffalo. All right, he started
Okay.
in 06, '07 in Buffalo. He played all the way. I guess this actually would have been his final season with Buffalo. Um, he ended up on the Jets for a little bit after that, brief stint in Boston at the deadline, and then wrapped up with 2 years in New Jersey, retired in 2019. But great career, 841 games in the show, 428 points,
Sabres, Bruins,
415 penalty minutes.
or Sabres, Jets, Bruins, Devils. Was that
Um,
progression?
Sabres, Jets, Bruins, Devils, yes. And he
This is
I
horrendously
didn't know this,
bad
but he was
last.
born in Milwaukee. That's pretty cool.
Oh, okay. American kid.
Oh man.
All right,
I'm
I'll
gonna
give you hints on the other
I'm
guy
gonna
too.
start running out of names soon.
This other guy that I said I think of Islanders, that would be because he was actually he was drafted by Pittsburgh, ninth round. However, ended up with a pretty long career, 650 games in the show. A couple years with LA to start, bunch of years on Long Island, 1 year in Buffalo, 1 year in Minnesota, and then 4 years in Buffalo to close it out, including the year that we're discussing right now. But again, solid career, 650 games, 369 points. Um, Ontario, Canada born.
Is one of these Tyler Ennis?
Nope.
Good guess. Is one of
That
these
is a good
Dan
one.
Paille?
Nope. Now, this
Jesus.
last one is probably the most household name of any of these, including the goalie. Um, Rochester, New York kid,
Okay.
drafted by the Devils in '98, third round. The Devils staple for many years, then ended up with the Habs for several years, and then finished with Buffalo.
Brian Ralston,
Nope, but you got the first name right.
Rafalski.
Nope, but you still got the first name right.
Gianta.
There we go.
There you
Okay, we're
go.
getting them here. We're getting them.
Nice.
Gianta is one of them.
Damn.
Come
The
on, boys.
So we
Come
still
on.
need two skaters and attendee.
Yep,
yeah.
come on.
Okay. Tendy. Oh boy.
I'm thinking player. Who the fuck was on like
The Tendy was drafted in '06 by Buffalo, second round. Swedish goaltender. Played one, two, three, four, five, 6 seasons in Buffalo. Brief stint in Dallas. Brief stint in LA. Brief stint in Toronto. Retire in 2017.
I'm cooked on this trivia question. Holy
Yeah.
Damn, boys. I actually thought this was going to be a good one.
two. I'm
I
thinking of the
know there's
skaters.
steering wheel punchers right now though, because
100%. I mean, I'm
these are
one of them.
all names like that you know. All right, another hint on one of the players. He shares a last name with a famous NFL quarterback. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
And the other player, his last name is the same as a very famous Canadian beer.
oh, Matt Molson.
Yes, Matt Molson.
Oh, why didn't you say Hershey Bears legend?
I probably should have.
Okay.
The other one, damn, dude, I haven't thought about Matt Molson in a minute.
Right.
This is the exact type of question that's usually like right in, I feel like especially Nick's wheelhouse.
But it's
Long day,
Buffalo. It's
boys.
Buffalo. That's the problem. Who's the other
Right, that's a good point.
Who's the other goal scorer?
I'm so mad at myself. I can't think of this goalie right now. Like this is driving me nuts.
Is the last goal scorer the Islanders? Think of the
No,
Islanders.
that was
Oh, you think of
Molson.
Matt Molson. What's
Um,
the other
the
guy's
other
name?
guy is pretty much a career-long Saber with a couple little stints elsewhere at the end of his career, but he shares the last name with a famous NFL quarterback.
An active?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, active. Al. It's definitely not Mahomes. Like Jackson, Allen. I'm thinking of common last names.
Oh
I
my
started
God.
cracking up because
Oh
all
my
I thought of
God.
was Joe Burrow and Alex Burrows.
Like Carr or like who's
No, no, no. He's
hurt?
better than that. He's a good quarterback. Holy shit. We're gonna be here all night.
Stafford.
Yes, Drew
Stafford.
Stafford. Drew
Oh,
Stafford.
damn, dude. I got wrecked on this. I couldn't tell you who the fuck the goalie is. Drafted by Buffalo in '06.
Yeah, do I need to just tell you guys
And
this
he's
one?
Swedish.
He's Swedish.
I have no clue. I feel like we're
This one,
usually
like, you know him for sure. When I say it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah. But I would be surprised at this point, since you couldn't even think of fucking Brian Giunta, if you're gonna be able to pull this one out. So
Yeah, I cave.
a cave.
Jonas and Roth.
Oh,
Never would have. Like yeah, but never would have guessed that.
Nick could have gotten it if
yeah.
we stayed for another like 2.5 hours.
3 to 4.
Well, that was
I appreciate the
Sorry,
support
boys.
there,
I thought
though.
that was gonna be a
Yeah.
fucking quick one.
that was one of the worst trivia performances by Nick and I of all time.
Yeah.
All right, redeem
Okay.
yourself later this week, maybe. We'll
Yeah.
see.
We'll get it back on Thursday.
For sure. If you're still with us, appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will talk to you in the next one.